Hello, everyone, and welcome to AVCon 2019. I'm Phil, and I am sitting here with voice actor D.C. Douglas.
You are.
Now, you're not just a voice actor, though, are you? You've got a lot of various talents.
Oh, shucks.
And you've done writing, directing, editing, and you cut your teeth treading the boards as well.
I loved those two phrases you put together. Cutting my teeth on I can't even do it. Yeah, I did.
Which of those come most naturally to you?
Oh, wow. Well, I guess it starts with theater, doesn't it? So, I mean, that was how I realized I wanted to be an actor. As I was in, I don't know if it was third grade or something, and they were doing skits, and I was playing a lamb that had an injury, and they put a Band-Aid on me, and then they had to take the Band-Aid off, and I reacted to that in a funny way, and they all laughed, and I went, ooh, I like this. And then from there, I did, my mother, hating her job at the time, came home one day and sat my sister and I down, and she's like, you're not going to end up living a life like I'm living. You need to determine what you want to do with your lives, and we're going to start making it happen. So my sister's like, rock star! And so she got singing lessons, and I went, actor. And I knew that since 7 that I wanted to be an actor. So
yeah.
So theater was where it all began, and that does come the most naturally to me.
Yeah.
But I came to LA for film and TV, on-camera acting. So
yeah.
So, but voiceover turned out to be the gift that I kind of ignored, and then realized once I embraced it, it became my saving grace, so that I could have a life as an actor, both behind the mic and in front of the camera, without having to be a waiter or any other survival job, which I realize is the blessing. And so when people talk about making it, that was the making it part for me, is not having to have that survival gig. So.
Yeah, I did read when I was researching that part of the reason that you decided to do more voiceover was because of the reaction from the dedicated fans.
Oh, well, that was part of that was actually more about the anime side of it. Because I did like some JRPGs in the late '90s and early aughts, but the conventions weren't around then. And one of the things that in voiceover. How do I explain it? There's so many different levels of pay that you can get depending on the kind of thing. So, for instance, I can do like the legal tag at the end of a commercial that runs on TV and buy enough to get a house, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Or I can go and do an entire season of an anime and barely make as much money as you get in one residual check from the other thing.
Wow.
It's a bizarro world.
Yeah.
But there's so much acting that you get to do in anime. And so that part is nice. But the biggest part was I went back to it when I realized there were conventions and you could travel. And one of my dreams was, I want to be an actor, a famous guy that they fly around to different movie sets around the world. Well, that didn't quite happen. But this other thing happened where I'm a voice actor and they fly me around to different places so I can, do meet fans and sign stuff. And I'm like, that's, life sometimes gives you what you want, but in a different way than you expected.
Yeah.
And so I just fully embraced it. So, and also, I mean, for crying out loud, having fans is bizarre and wonderful, and I want to, give back if I can. If just by me showing up and signing makes you happy, right on. So, I think it's wonderful.
You've also done a lot of different genres. Obviously, you've done a
porno,
anime now.
Oh, sorry.
You've done procedural sci-fi. You've done soap. What do you personally like to watch or play?
I was going to go back to my joke, but I won't do it. Well, here's the thing: video game wise, I would love to be able to play video games, but the problem is I tried it once, and I went in to play. Was it Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
It was like my first video game I really tried to earnestly play, and I got such motion sickness, and I felt I felt I was not doing the things I needed to do, like to hustle for my career and just general life stuff. I'm like, I'm wasting time doing this game, and so it's just I have this weird Western mentality that I'm now shaking off and enjoying lots of vacations. But as far as like watch stuff. I'm an HBO guy.
Yeah.
I like the shows where they've got no parameters and they can go off into really weird places. Right now, there's a new show on HBO called Euphoria that I've just watched the pilot for, and that was like Wonderful show. That's about what I watch, not what I'm in, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure I got the
Just
question
trying to
right.
get to you, the person.
Yeah, no, I like the weird stuff.
Yeah.
So somebody in the other interview I was doing, they asked a favorite film, and I, obviously, there's no ever a favorite film.
Yeah, it changes.
But one of the ones that impacted me deeply was a film called Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah.
Charlie. Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know
cool.
of it. Yeah.
I've
I
got
haven't
the-
actually seen it yet.
I've got a
but yeah,
tattoo.
no.
Oh, you haven't seen it? You've got to
haven't
watch
seen
it.
it yet, yeah.
And you have to watch it a couple times.
Yeah.
So it's, I like the weird stuff. I've always liked track, was it Track 29? Way back in the 80s. That's how I fell in love with Gary Oldman. But anything that's weird and
Lynchian,
you have to
you like
watch
Lynch?
several times to understand what the hell it is you just
Yeah.
saw. So, yeah.
Cool. I also wanted to ask a little bit about your work with the Asylum and schlock movies like
Hey
Sharknado.
now.
I love schlock. It's not a
Sharknado
negative
was a
sense.
cinema classic.
What's that like on set? Does everyone take it deadly seriously, or is there a lot of fun and silliness on the set?
Well, the other thing is because it's so low budget and they're moving so fast, it's kind of hard for them to like joke around or
Yeah.
like we just need to get this shot done. First off, I'm thankful to the Asylum because as far as the latter part of my career here, I would be nothing without them. I had a fun little arc in Z Nation because of them, and I've done 6 films with them. I think Sharknado 2 being one of them.
Yeah.
And that Sharknado 2, I actually asked to be in the movie. Because the first one hit so big, and so one of the guys who run it, I kept emailing him and going, I'd really love to be in it. Whatever, just let me know. And then I heard they wrapped principal photography, and I was like, okay, it's all right. And then out of the blue, he reached out and he's like, hey, if you can get yourself over to Buffalo, New York, there's a pickup scene that they need to do. And I'm like, yes, I'll do it. So literally, I paid to be in the movie. If you really think about it. I had to get myself there, and by the time I was done with everything the expenses for what I got paid, I was still like a negative $360, which was like the price of doing an online press release. And I thought, that's worth it. And years later, I finally got enough residuals that have made up for it, so I think I'm at 0 now. But no, but the amount of fans and acknowledgement that I got for just being in a Sharknado movie, it's like, right on. So I'm proud of that aspect. So it's like that all actors unless you get really lucky and you hit it really big,
Yeah.
and everybody else takes care of your career. Most of us are journeymen, and we try to scrabble. What's the word I'm looking for? Cobble together careers and things, and then all of a sudden you have a career of some sort. And
Sure.
me being here right now is a result of me cobbling for many years.
So let's talk a little bit about Wesker.
All right then.
He's iconic. He's a little bit extravagant. How
Yes.
much of you is in that character?
He's also a murderous misogynist.
That's not the part I mentioned, though.
There's not a lot of me in him at all. No. I mean, I love playing bad guys. That's always fun. So I just did a show called The Encounter. We shot for a week in Georgia, and I play a demon Uber driver.
Ooh.
And I say the worst things to this pregnant woman for a week, and it was so lovely and enjoyable. But I'm not an evil, horrible person. I
wasn't saying.
Right. So Albert Wesker. Here's the thing that I love about doing it. First off, the voice is like an amalgamation of a couple of the voice actors who've done the role back in the 90s and early aughts. And then I took it over, and I've been doing it since 2007. So I've done about 8 different projects with Albert Wesker's voice. And I did a lot of fan service videos as well, so the voice has kind of evolved a little bit. But I love, I think what I love is that for some reason, I don't even know what it is, why other people love him, the fact when I do the voice and I see the reaction, that's the part of doing him that I absolutely love. But do I identify in anything in that kind of a character? Oh, God knows. But it's just nice.
And not inspired by anyone you know, or?
No. Well, no, though he does seem to have a lot in common with Trump, but no. But I started doing him way before Trump was a thing. So.
We'll steer around that, shall we?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I also want to talk a little bit about video game work and focus a little bit on playing Legion in Mass Effect. Now, Mass Effect, very famous for having lots of branching dialogue and lots of outcomes. When you go to approach a script like that, is it hard to kind of keep your head around where you are in sort of the branching plot and what the context is?
Well, here's what the interesting thing about video games is that we don't get the script because they're so tight-lipped on everything.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm not quite sure. But the You can't, so you don't get to see the script. And also with video games, that whole process of recording the voices has evolved over the years. So for instance, when people talk about how bad the acting is in some of like the early Resident Evil games in the 90s, and that is because it all started with coders. And so they were giving Excel sheets with just the list of lines and some sort of where it fits into the game somewhere, but missing so much context. You know, you have no idea why you're saying it. And sometimes the director producer doesn't know either. And they go, let's do 3 takes. 1, you're calm. 1, you're angry. 1, you're in the middle of a war. You know, it's like that kind of a thing. We don't know which one they're going to use. So you get weird, like sounding stilted dialogue because there's no context for it. But that has evolved over the years. But even now, when I do, especially JRPGs and that stuff, it's still a list. But the producers and the directors are more keyed into contextually what's happening. So it comes off a bit better. Plus, as actors, the more that we've been doing these, we've kind of picked up on the feel of it as well. That being said, Mass Effect was wonderful in that when we didn't get stuff beforehand, but when we were there, you had not just your dialogue, but who you were talking to. So you knew at least the immediate context of what was happening. The director, Ginny McSwain, was on the first one, the one I did, which was Mass Effect 2, and then they directed me out of Canada for the third one. My second one, their third one. And so they know even more context to let you know. So they're very good at guiding you for that. And they really wanted cinematic acting. So no students, and plus my character as well. You know, Legion is everything is very close to the heart. I don't know why I said close to the heart, because I miss him. So they kind of keep you in order. Now, Mass Effect 3, for me, the interesting challenge is if you let me live, you then run into a familiar Legion in Mass Effect 3. If you let me die, then I'm a very cold Legion that you meet.
Yes.
So we had several scenes where I'd record them different kind of dialogue. Either if you knew me, warm dialogue, cold dialogue if you didn't know me, and then some scenes were meant to be neutral. They'd work for both time. I don't know what you call those, both branches. So that was kind of an interesting challenge. So what's funny is I had a lot of voice work for 3, even though my character does not appear that much in the third game. So,
Do you is it hard to approach like a robotic character and give them life? If that makes sense.
No, actually, it's a lot easier because you don't have to. There's not a lot of backstory you necessarily have to keep in mind because everything is very literal and I tend to get a lot of robots as well. So, I played even in commercial work as well. But I played Chase on Transformers Rescue Bots, which is a kids show.
I mean, the Transformers have personalities.
He definitely has. Well, we started off with him no personality. Originally, the audition for him was that it was supposed to be like Dragnet from the 70s, 60s, which so Chase spoke like this, and everything was very, very much robotic like that. And then by the first episode we're recording, we're like going, this is not going to work after 23 episodes. And so he slowly becomes kind of like a very literal Don Pardo. So. But it's nice because you're always dealing with just what's in front of you when you're doing a robot voice. Legion was interesting because he was not meant to be. He's not just a robot.
Yeah, of course.
And so there's this. You want emotion in there, feeling in there. So it's almost like being an intelligent child. That's how I would describe doing Legion. So
that's awesome. Now, we were talking just before we kicked off a little bit about the special show that you've brought for us this year.
Will people see this before tomorrow night?
I'm not sure.
Oh, all right. We'll just talk about it then, okay.
Well, we can talk about it. Can you tell us a little bit about
sure.
what that is, how it came together?
It is called the Notorious Zombie-Related Erotic Fanfic Show.
It's an After Dark show, by
it's
the way.
An After Dark one, yes. It's at 7 o'clock Saturday night, tomorrow night, and if you do see this before then. And the way that it came about was, how much can I say? There's a lot of this that I can't say it's because of lawyer stuff. That I've been asked to be quiet about it. That's why it's so secretive.
Oh, wow.
But I will say this, that it started because of fans sending me things when I used to be on Facebook, and the messages were open, and I would get these fanfics, and I'm like, hello. I really don't have time to read it. And then I realized they actually want me to read it to them. That's what I think is going on here.
Okay.
And I had gotten I've been doing a lot of conventions at that point. I did a couple of years worth, and I thought, there's only so many times I can say, what's the favorite role I've ever done, I want to do something more interesting. but also involves the fans, because I get tired of hearing myself talk for 45 minutes. And so I created this show where I sourced all the fanfics from people. I put it together in a show that has an arc. It's about 90 minutes. And but then I've tweaked the scripts a lot. One is I had to strip out the misogyny that was in there for some of the fanfics, because if you know the fanfic world, they get a little out there. But then the second thing is I wanted to work in more humor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to work in a lot of different voices of characters that I've done over the years. So, and then there's scripts. And so I'm bringing volunteers up to read with me. And then it's like, however they perform, that adds to the evening. And so every show's a little different because of whoever's performing with me. So
great. Oh,
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
It started as like a half-hour thing I did in Florida once, and now it's a 90-minute show. So it's been a fun journey. So
fantastic.
And this will be the Australian premiere of it. So I've done it in the UK and Canada and America, and now Australia.
It's exclusive. It's your first chance to see it here in Australia.
Yeah.
So get down to that. If you see this before tomorrow.
Yeah. And if not,
you missed out. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you have a
It was
wonderful
fun.
convention, and I'll catch
Thanks.
you very soon.
Next time, can we sit together?
Yeah, of course.
Cool, because I felt lonely.
Bye.